Want to know which sectors of the industry are going to boom in the next 12 months? We talked to somebody who should know.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership, so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warrick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
And welcome to another episode of the Tradies Business Show. I'm Michaela Clark from Tradies VA.
And I'm Warrick Bidwell from the Tradies Business Toolkit.
And today we're talking with Master Builders Queensland, who have over 9,000 or nearly 9,000 members, and they regularly communicate and talk to them, so they really know what's going on in the industry.
It's one of the country's leading industry associations. They've been around since 1882, if you can believe that.
No, I can't.
And they've got some great insights. We spoke with Paul, the Deputy Executive Director, today, and he had some great insights into really what separates the successful tradies from the guys who are perhaps finding it a bit tough. Yeah,
and also make some really positive predictions for what's going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months.
So he's really talking up what's likely to be happening in the industry in the next couple of years.
So hopefully you enjoy the interview. And before we get started, though, just a shout out to MyOb PayDirect, our current show sponsor, who have a great mobile payment solution for tradies and small businesses that work on the road. So if you'd like to know more, head to tradiesbusinessshow.com/MYOB, and there's lots of information there to help you learn more about getting payments on the road. So we're just about to talk to Paul Bidwell, and I can't believe I now know two Bidwells in my life, Warrick.
Aren't you lucky, Michaela?
I am. Any relation?
Well, we had a brief chat after the interview, and I don't know, obviously at some stage we both our ancestors arrived on the same convict ship or something, but just complete coincidence.
Well, there you go. So let's see what Paul's got to say.
He must be a good bloke.
Must be. So thanks for joining us, Paul, today.
Pleasure, Michaela.
So tell us a little bit about Master Builders Queensland and your role here.
Sure. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Master Builders, and we've been around for 132 years, so since 1882. And across that time, we've been representing the building and construction industry in Queensland, providing advice on contracts and technical issues, as well as services and products to builders and tradies right across the state.
Cool. And so how long have you been with the organisation, and what's some of the things that you've seen in your time with the
I've been with Master Builders 5 and a bit years and looking after all of the housing policy. And in that time we've seen a lot happen in terms of what the government has imposed upon the housing industry, and I think that really reflects we've now got a change of government, or have had for the last 2 years. So Labor were a different kettle of fish to play with than the current government, and the economy. So in the last 5 years we've seen a dramatic turnaround in economic conditions, and particularly on the housing side of things as opposed to the non-residential. But on the residential side of things, very, very positive. So we're looking forward to a good year in 14-15 and then into 15-16.
Yeah, and so how many current members do you have, and what's kind of the breakdown of the members that you have?
8,600 is what we've got right now, of which 40% of them are builders and 40% of them are tradies. And 20%, what's left, are manufacturers, suppliers, consultants, apprentices and students. And of the builders, mostly housing, so they've got 3,500 builders, mostly housing, but we've got, I think it's about 1,000 commercial builders, and that includes the Tier 1, so that's the Lend-Lease, Brookfield Multiplex, Hutchies, and those other big commercial builders.
So you've got a pretty broad cross-section of members there, Paul. I mean, how do you guys cater to the diverse interests, I suppose, and challenges that they're all facing?
That is a challenge, but the fact that we're all focused on the building and construction industry gives us there's a common theme there. And it's interesting that we do some work with, say, the building suppliers, Boral, BlueScope, a couple of the insulation providers about the quality of products. So we've had a major, scare's probably not the right word, a run-in with a non-conforming product, a dodgy product coming in from China, the Infinity electrical cable. So BlueScope Steel have said, well, what are we going to do to make sure that we don't get that happening for the future? So the builders don't want it because ultimately they're liable for these things. And the Infinity electrical cable, we'll see how that plays out. But in the first instance, the retailer is wearing the costs, but we'll see what happens. But it may well be that the builder and the electrician end up being liable. So we don't want that to happen. So we want to stop these dodgy products coming into the country. So that's one example of where we are working with the broad range of membership. So it's not just the builders and the tradies. We do work closely with all our members and the consultants as well. I mean, there's a lot of certifiers, building inspectors, and we work on a range of issues with those guys.
So you mentioned the Infinity electrical cable. The perception, I suppose, is that there is quite a bit of regulation in the industry. How does something like that actually get through?
That is pure fraud. It was imported from China. It had the stamps on it, but the stamps were just put there illegally. There's no other way to put it. So Masters and Mitre 10, the retailers bought it in good faith, and they've been left carrying the can because the company that imported it has disappeared. And we're happy that on that case that the retailers are carrying the can, because otherwise they'd be the people that have got these, and it's mostly residential. They would be looking for the builder and the electrician, and that's not something we're particularly, we want to get involved with.
Yeah, so another important part of the association, what you try and do for members, is around training and education. So talk through what your goals are there and where you see that going.
In 13-14, we delivered almost 4,000 courses. So that's diploma, certificate and short courses across a range of topics. So that's business improvement topics, business management, right through to very technical things like asbestos. So the new asbestos rules that taken effect in Queensland, and as well as the training people to deal with the workplace health and safety requirements. So one of the things we've been dealing with is payment issues. I mean, we survey our members every quarter. We do a survey of industry confidence, and we ask them a range of things. And what came back, and this is going back a couple of years ago, was that that last payment, a lot of builders and tradies were leaving it on the table. It was just too hard to get. So we've argued that the government should make it easier for builders to pursue the owners for that last payment. And we've also realised that there are a lot of people who aren't aware of what tradies and builders who aren't aware of what their rights are. So we're training people on what to do if you don't get paid. And there are various pieces of legislation which are there, various tools that they can use to make sure they do get paid.
Yeah. So part of that member survey and things that you do, what are you finding some of the challenges that your members are facing at the moment?
The biggest one of the things we asked them is what's the biggest constraint on your business? And over the last few years, it's been the level of demand, that people aren't buying what they're building, what they're doing. But we're seeing that change, which is a good thing, and that is really in line with everything you read about what's going on in the particularly the housing market. But unfortunately, what will come with that will be shortages, skill shortages. We know that in the next 12 months, particularly in southeast Queensland, in some of the regional areas, that we're going to butt up against increased costs, which is a good thing if that's the business you're in. And also a shortage of labour, skilled labour. And again, for the people that are doing the work, that's not a bad thing, but it's not good for the industry.
Yeah. Any particular skills or just
across the board? Look, there's some work being done by a group called Construction Skills Queensland, who you might actually want to look at talking to at some point. But that's what they do, is look at project across regions, what are the shortages that we're going to be getting coming through.
And do you find some regional areas are having more level of demand than other areas? And what can be done about that, do you think?
Mostly what drove regional Queensland was the resources sector. So the Darling Downs, southwest Queensland was on the back of LNG. So going back 2 or 3 years ago, they were going very well, and it's dropped off, and it's just coming good now. So around Toowoomba and then out through the Western Downs. Central Queensland and Mackay went gangbusters and then just fell off a cliff. And they're the two areas, Central Queensland and Mackay, that people are really struggling. They're looking for work. There were a lot of builders and tradies who went to Gladstone, Mackay and Rockhampton from Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast particularly, because there was no work. They've all come home, which is good for their families, and that's because there's a lot of work back down in the southeast corner.
And so we talk a lot about market conditions, Paul, and regulation and what's going on in the wider industry. But are you seeing anything in particular with your members at a business level that perhaps they need to work on, or that you're actually helping them with? Things like marketing or recruitment, those sorts of issues?
Marketing is interesting. What we've found is that the best marketing is that word of mouth. I mean, that's how a lot of the successful builders are getting their work. So they're not spending an inordinate amount of money on marketing. But where quite often they get let down is in their communication skills. It's how they interact with, how they communicate with their suppliers, with their clients, just broadly. It's sort of at 360 degrees. And we find a lot of the builders quite a few of the builders are saying to us that one of the things we need to be doing is getting in early, say with supervisors, and giving them additional skills on communication, soft skills, I mean how they manage staff, how they deal with conflict, so that, because they're the next rung of tradies, of builders, who will be contracting direct with consumers, with clients.
Because we were talking just before we hit record on today's episode about the good guys, the good businesses still are doing reasonably well, and despite what's going on externally to their businesses. But it's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer kind of thing. I mean, what sets them apart? You talked about communication skills, but specifically, are there any things that you guys see as an organisation that really set them apart?
Look, no, there's not. If as I said, in the last 12 months, things have been improving, and we're living it now. So 2014-15 we think is going to be a whole lot better than 13-14, and 15-16 is going to be better again. But there are, particularly on the alterations and additions, so those in the renovating market, right through the downturn, there were some people who were just flying under the radar, and they survived very well. They might not have had 2 years' worth of work in front of them, but they had 3, 6 months, 9 months worth of work in front of them, and they came out of the end of the financial crisis, which I'd say, we'd say that we're out of it now, unscathed. Whereas there are a lot of businesses that didn't go so well. Because we're a highly regulated sector, particularly in Queensland, our regulator, the Queensland Building and Construction Commission, has got the data on the number of businesses that failed, and it's a staggering number. Having said that, I can't tell you the number, but there were, going back 12 months, a lot of licensed contractors who went to the wall, and that was primarily because there was no work, or they cut each other's throats to get the work, and then they couldn't deliver, and then it ends in tears.
So you talk about the next year and to looking positive from what you see. What do you see is going to happen over the next couple of years for the industry?
You mean in terms of like the numbers themselves, or just
as far as the growth? Yeah.
So the non-residential sector is pretty grim. And that we don't expect that's going to change. So we're very confident about residential sector, so that's both detached houses as well as multi-residential, so the unit development. And that's driven, a lot of it's by investors, so they've bought a lot of units off the plan, particularly in southeast Queensland, so Brisbane and the Gold Coast. But there's population growth across the state, employment's not too bad, interest rates are at an all-time low. So all of those things indicate that housing should do very well. Our members are telling us that, up and down the coast, except around central Queensland and Mackay. And the guys in Brisbane haven't been this busy since 2007, 2008.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds like a bit of a purple patch coming for everybody.
It is. And the question is going to be how long does it last, but that's not something we're focused on at this point. We're only just out of the woods and we're not going to start thinking about when's it going to drop again. But there's got to be at least 2 years, through to the end of 15, 16, before we'd start to get concerned about what's going to happen. And a lot of that will depend on, and it's not just national economic conditions, but global economic conditions, what happens elsewhere. But interest rates are going to be important, as well as employment. So people won't invest unless they've got jobs.
That's right. You mentioned earlier, and it's kind of skipping back a little bit, about guys cutting each other's throats on pricing, and it's certainly something that I hear a lot from clients about. They're competing with people and other tradies who are willing to actually almost buy work. Do you see that with your members, and what sort of, advice have you got for people that are experiencing that?
Well, it's a very slippery slope, and a lot of people have failed as a result. But if you're faced with the prospect of no work or some work, and you want to keep the team together, then that's really the options you've got. So it's an awful position to be in, and for every story we've heard where people have ended up losing their business, we've got people who came out by the skin of their teeth. It's a very much a mixed bag. It's really hard to give advice because it's a decision they've got to make based on the circumstances right there and then. Do I take this job? I'm not going to make any money, but at least I can keep the team I've got. And most of our members, most of our members, like the rest of Queensland business, are small business, so they're not employing too many people. Most of it, and as you know, most of our work is through subcontracts, but they still employ some. And they like to keep the subbies together as well if they've got a good team of subbies. But there are a lot of horror stories, but that's 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So we're not hearing too many of those anymore.
Cool. And so one thing you said, you find that the ones that really succeed have that word of mouth and have a great reputation around town. What do you find are some of the basic things? Something we really talk about a lot is things like returning customer phone calls, turning up on time, following up with quotes, and all those that are free to do and easy to do, but we find a lot just don't do it. So, that's all part of that great customer service and word of mouth that you've talked about.
Absolutely. So when I said communication, that was one word that covers all, but that is actually it. It's all of those things. And I heard about a builder over in Bulimba. Someone said to me, well, this guy is fantastic. And as it turned out, I knew him. And because he had gone to the neighbours and said, look, my name's Andrew Finlay and I'm building this house and I'm going to be a bit of a pain for a while, but, I'll make sure that I'm not...
Wow.
So that sort of attention to detail, which is really simple. I mean, all he had to do was walk across the road and just introduce himself. But that person is a convert, and if they ever build, they're going to go to that bloke, which is the message that I got. So, that sort of simple stuff that, as you say, costs you nothing, doesn't take any time, and given that you're not trying, it makes a significant difference. It makes a significant difference.
So one of the things that we're finding with our guys, it's the way that online's going and the way they market their business is changing. gone are the days of yellow pages and things like that. And I'm sure you, as a large organisation as well, has experienced the way and changes that you communicate with your members. So talk us through the process in how you've evolved and more marketing yourself online and communicating online.
There's a couple of dimensions to that. We've got all of our members can go online, so it's Master Builders. Find a Master Builder, so find it, which is all online. It gets a little bit of take up. One of the struggles that we've got is getting our messages through to members. So we use online, we use email, we use text for different things. But it's a continual struggle in getting the message through, and people leave us. So they say, and then we ring them. We have doing like almost an exit interview. And why did you leave us? So, well, you didn't do anything for me. But hang on, didn't you know we do this, this, and this? No, I didn't know that. And yet we have a very sophisticated system of sending messages to people. It's targeted, the services that relate to them, what's new, what's changed, why you need to take this service up, this product up. Training, for example, on asbestos. If you without that license, you can't go and do the work. So, and people just completely blissfully unaware, and they say, well, you've done nothing for us, so we're not going to join. So it's a real struggle. All businesses face it. And we're no different to anybody else. If we could crack that, we'd be very happy. But we continue to struggle getting that cut through.
And it's something that's common to pretty much every business, is that continual fight to educate our customers about how good we are without sounding like, we've got our head up our proverbial. So I suppose that's where social media can be quite powerful with the whole social proof thing. So you guys finding that that's helping?
We've put our toe in the water. I wouldn't say it hasn't been any downside. I'm not sure what the upside's been, but we've been using it as a channel to get our message out. And I can't recall the stats, but I know our website hits are up significantly, and we've decluttered our website. It's much cleaner than it was. We're out there in that social media space, but I'm not sure what the return is. But at this point.
And that's a pretty common thing for people using social media, in fact, is measuring the outcome can be a little grey and rubbery. So, it's a bit of a challenge, I think, for anybody using it.
That's true, but the other side of it is what are you missing if you're not there? So even though you can't perhaps measure the benefits, quite often it's not a really big investment to be part of it. So you've got a message, it's just another channel to get it out there. So it's almost, well, we'll do this because we might not know what's going to come of it if we do it, but what am I trying to say?
Well, the key for me there, Paul, was the fact that it doesn't cost a lot to actually do it and be in the pool with everybody else. So it's not like you're outlaying tens of thousands of dollars for most businesses to actually do social media.
That's right. That is the point.
So you almost can't say, well, we're not going to.
Yeah, the incremental cost is not great, and the fact that you can't necessarily demonstrate the benefit doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
And one thing I find with people that I work with is with things like smartphones and video and pictures and all that now, it is a lot easier for people that do work on job sites all day to take photos before and after and quickly upload them and things like that. So it's getting much easier to market their business online. And I really think, the whole use of mobiles and all that is a new way for them to take advantage of it.
There is no doubt about that, particularly in the younger guys.
Yeah.
They've all got a smart device, and so we've now got our contracts online. That's one of the big things that we've done. And so you have to be a Master Builders member to use our contract. And they're online, and so you can sit at the client's home at night and you can work through it. You can get it signed. It's all stored electronically. It is a very sophisticated system compared to the alternative, which is all hard copies and people scratching on the margins and then keeping it in manila folder and, getting lost somewhere.
So in terms of, I guess, a value proposition, Paul, what's the benefits of actually belonging to an organisation like Master Builders Queensland?
There's a couple of dimensions to that. We hear a lot of people tell us that they join because we're an insurance policy, that if things go wrong, then they can ring us. So we take about 4,500 calls a year on contractual matters, technical matters, disputes, and we've got a team of experts who will answer that phone on the same day, answer the call. We'll go out on site, we'll deal with the dispute, we'll walk our members through QCAT if need be, so that's the tribunal. We'll deal with the building regulator. So that, for some people, that's worth its weight in gold. And we do, so we've got people across the state who can do that sort of on the ground. The other dimension is just being part of the voice of industry, being part of the industry. They want to feel part of something, and that's sort of an innate feeling that people want to be, want somewhere where they can talk to their peers about what's going on, and so we give them that opportunity. And then it's simply, it is just pure value. So we've got deals on telecommunications, so Telstra, vehicles. I mean, every tradie needs a car and needs a phone. So we've got a deal that is really difficult for an individual to replicate. In fact, it's impossible. So that alone is worth the price of membership, plus the training. So there's a number. We really tried to have a broad suite of products and services, starting with those intangible things like being part of the voice of industry, through to very tangible. We'll save you money on your phone bill. We'll save the cost of your vehicle. Through to, you can ring us and we'll fix your problem. And there's no doubt we'll fix it. We've got decades of experience. And
it's interesting you talk about belonging to a group, small business, and you pointed out before that your members are mostly small business owners. It can get very lonely in small business, and often we're a bit proud as tradies, and we don't necessarily want to go and seek help or cry on the shoulder of our mates. So it is good to belong to a group where you can actually talk openly about those sorts of issues, whether it's with yourself and your team, Paul, or perhaps with fellow members.
And we provide both. So we have events where people can get together and have that networking. So we've got this Thursday, we've got our annual smoko. So we'll have hundreds of builders down in the car park. One, we're buying them a drink and thanking them for their membership. But two, they get the chance to talk about all the sorts of things that we've talked about. And whether they talk to us or talk to each other, as you say, it's lonely out there. And quite often, all they want is a sounding board just to bounce things off.
So what do you see is the future for the organisation? Where you hope to take it in the next 1 to 2 years?
It's about engaging with our members better. I mean, historically, we've tried to get members, almost anyone with a pulse. So we're and they left very quickly. Some of them did. I mean, it's interesting when you look at the length of time they've been members. We've got 30, 40, 50-year members. They're more than you would think. But we need to work, and we are working on making sure that people are sticky. They stick with us. And that's through our contracts online, so our e-docs, which we've now extended into workplace health and safety, helping the residential side of things and the commercial side deal with their obligations under the workplace health and safety legislation. So that's safety management plans and safe work method statements. The next thing we can see coming is some sort of project management system. I mean, a lot of the bigger builders, the bigger companies have got project management systems, but the little guys have got bugger all. So we're working on that, which will include some sort of estimating, from when a client rings up through to when you deliver the finished whether it's they hand the keys over or finish the deck or whatever it be, a system that makes their life easier.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest requests. I work with a lot of people in their systems and procedures, and there's some great programs out there, but they can be quite expensive for the smaller guys, and the ones that are there aren't really built for builders and project managers and stuff. So probably every second day I'm getting that request. So
well, we've heard that, and over the last couple of years we've gone up a few dry gullies trying to figure out how we can deliver it. But from the 1st of April, all things going to plan, we'll have something in the marketplace that will do that, and it's aimed at our members. So it's not aimed at the big end of town.
Yeah.
It won't be expensive and it won't be complicated.
Oh, that's exciting to hear.
Awesome. So, Paul, we often like to ask our guests a question: is if you had, say, 1,000 tradies in a room, and you could give them maybe one piece of advice or one thing to focus on to improve their business, what would that be?
We've talked about it already, and it's keeping it simple. It's following up when you say you are, delivering your... What am I trying to say? Because you said it better, Michaelia.
What did I say?
No.
So it's all about doing what they say.
Yeah, no, it's doing... Yeah. So we say a brand is your promise. So it's delivering on what you promise. Yep. It's following up, and you can round it up as communication, but it's much more than that. But those simple things that cost nothing and that deliver enormous benefit.
Yes, it's all about being proud of the business. And, I hear a lot say, follow up a customer. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Why would I follow up a customer? They might complain there's something wrong. Well, don't be in business if that's the case. Like, you should be proud of the work you do. Yeah. And that's such a simple thing. And that can just make all the difference. And it's all about how you position your business and actually do that on the day-to-day.
Yeah, very true. We have as one of our bylines the pride in the job. And it's how you instill that is... It can be done really easily, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Awesome. Well, Paul, thanks again for your time. I know you're a busy man, heading up one of the leading organisations in the construction industry. So, mate, thanks very much again. And there's some pearls of wisdom in there for our listeners around just building a great business. I mean, I know we're talking particularly builders, but they're universal concepts. So, thank you again for your time, mate.
A pleasure, Warrick.
So if anyone wanted to become a member or find out more about the organisation, where would they go?
Go straight to our website, masterbuilders.com.au.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paul.
Good to talk to you.
And we just have to say the correct web address is queenslandmasterbuilders.asn.au as an association for the benefit of their members, and there's almost 9,000 of them that Paul and the team are speaking with on a regular basis, so they certainly do know their stuff when it comes to what makes a great business and perhaps some of the things that we need to be working on to improve our tradie businesses.
Yeah, and certainly a great organisation if you do need some support in your business, so certainly look at that. Now, if you'd like to never miss an episode of the Tradies Business Show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, and also subscribe on our email list on tradiesbusinessshow.com.
And if you have a question you'd like answered on the show, make sure you hit the show page, tradiesbusinessshow.com, and you'll see the little app there where you can leave us a voicemail. If you're game, we'll play it on the show. But certainly leave us a question about anything, whether it's marketing, whether it's cash flow, maybe sales or anything like that. And we'd love to answer it on the show live on air.
Till next time.
Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warrick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.